pole position, third in the championship. Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian, looking to get his third victory of the season at some point this weekend. It might not come here because the grid performance, the qualifying performance, is not what he wanted, but the 21-year-old will give it his everything. The closest ever Formula One finish was here in 1971. The top 4 cars all crossed the line within, what was it, 0.18 seconds of each other. So less than 0.2 of a second between the top 4 at the line in the 1971 Formula One Grand Prix. Peter Gethin won it for BRM. Ronnie Peterson, Francois Severt and Mike Howard were literally alongside him. Gethin went from 4th to 1st on the last lap of the race. And actually, there was only 0.6 seconds between the top 5. I tell you this because Gethin won the race from 11th on the grid. And it's a longer race in Formula One, but still, it is entirely possible to make progress here, even from the tail end of the top 10. So as long as they can get decent starts, watch out for the likes of Leclerc and Giovinazzi. There's Marcus Pommer, a brief glance of the German driver. He's also very experienced, not in European F3, but in German Formula 3. He's also raced in Formula 2 and numerous other categories. Marcus Pommer didn't have a very good qualifying session yesterday. Neither session went too well for him, and he's 15th on the grid. However, in the free practice sessions earlier in the weekend, he was right up there. He was, I think, he was second quickest of all the free practice sessions. So the lap times were very good, comparable with what we had in qualifying. So perhaps he's another one that might come through. Somebody else that struggled a bit this weekend, Callum Ilott, who won in the first weekend at Silverstone. Junior driver, another rookie, straight out of karting, another of the 16-year-olds, but only 19th on the grid for this one. But again, remember, he knew Silverstone, well, didn't know Silverstone, but he's a bit more familiar in his home country there. He's learning all these circuits all the time. He's never raced a Formula 3 car before with the Carlin team. Did some racing over in the Toyota series, otherwise, his first season of car racing. A great sight. Then you can see the heat haze here at the circuit. As they don't really need to build any heat into the tyres. These 2-litre fuel direct injected engines will unleash about 240 brake horsepower. That's about 450 brake horsepower per tonne. And as I say, they will hit top speed. They're on full throttle for a lot of the lap here, and they will hit the top speed of 280 kilometres an hour in 6th gear at various points around the lap. Sort of quick glimpse of the Prema Power team there. You've had another stunning season so far, but don't lead the championship with their driver. They lead the team's championship, but their best driver is Rosenquist third, with Dennis fourth in the standings. So big weekend here for the Italian team in their home country here at Monza. So we're almost set to go then for round 10 of the 2015 FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The first of 3 races here this weekend. And to the right of your picture, you can see the pole position man, Felix Rosenquist, seeking out what will be his 3rd race win of the season to try and get himself right back up in the championship fight. He's got a 50-point deficit already to Giovinazzi, the points leader. And it's a big opportunity because the top 2 in the championship are quite a few positions behind him on the grid. But what can fellow front row starter Santino Ferrucci do in his first front row start in a Formula 3 car in only his 2nd season of racing? Alex Albon has not made it to the grid, so there's a space 3rd. Raoul Hyman, somebody else that's not used to being up there, he's 4th on the grid. Lance Stroll and Mikkel Jensen, the Danish driver, completing the top 6 on the grid here. Jake Dennis and Antonio Giovinazzi, watch for those 2 from the 4th row of the grid. The green flag is waved at the back of the field then, and we're almost ready to go racing here at Monza. The red lights come on, they go out straight away, and it looks like a decent start for Rosenquist. Trying to go with him is Ferrucci. And Lance Stroll looks like he's made a lightning start as well, and he could be in 3rd place by the time they get to the first chicane here. There is Rosenquist leading. Ferrucci's got the inside line. He's good enough on the brakes to be able to hold the position. 1 or 2 lock up behind him. But that's a good start for Lance Stroll. I think he's got into 3rd place. Somebody's run straight on at the Prima Variante there, the first chicane. She's taken down in 1st gear, so it's a tight squeeze through there. But everybody seems to have made it through. 1 or 2 of them have travelled wide. There's somebody a long way back in the background who hasn't yet got to that chicane, but they make their way flat out through the curve of Bassona down to the Seconde Variante. Bit quicker this one, taken in 2nd gear. fairly soft curbs on the exits, so you can take it. And we've got news that the safety car is coming out to do with that an incident off the start towards the first chicane. So news coming through that will already get the safety car. Struggling at the back of the field there, number 33, Mahavir Raghunathan, the Indian driver, one of the motor park drivers. And they can see the yellow flags and the boards for the safety car being held aloft. And it's Poe all over again. We had the safety car out a lot around the street circuit. You kind of expect it there. We didn't necessarily expect it to be coming out so soon here at Monza. And we may find out yet exactly what has caused that with a replay or the pictures revealing that. But somebody's obviously stuck down on the circuit. My guess is it's on that run down towards the first chicane. So the race director taking immediate action to bring the safety car out. There you can see just how much the circuit drops and then rises on the run to the chicane out Ascari. That was off the line, so contact there between two cars and one, the front left wheel missing, so car stalling off the line then and getting hit. And yeah, only the two cars involved. Others did well to avoid that. And that's your worst nightmare off the start, unsighted. You're pulling away, you're trying to hook up the start as best as you can, accelerate as quickly as you can. You don't expect to be having to stand on the brakes before you even get to the first corner. So hopefully both drivers okay, but the cars will be a bit of a mess and will have to be recovered. And there's the car that had the hit. Now that is Artur Janos, the Polish driver, who's guesting here this weekend. He's racing in the GP3 Championship this year, the Polish driver. Just here this weekend, really, to get used to the circuit, because he'll be racing here in GP3 in his first season in GP3 later in the year. And he said to me yesterday, my idea this weekend is not just to run around and around, but, you know, I want to be competitive, but really the thing here for me this weekend is to get as many laps as I can. Well, it's not really worked out, I'm afraid, for the likeable Polish driver, because he was the one that hit that stationary car off the line. So the car's being sent through the pit lane. They're not stopping the race. This is pure, well, they are not stopping the race effectively, they're stopping the pace of the race with the safety car. There's no red flag, but they're having to go through the pit lane because the recovery operation is on the start-finish line, so that's the best way to avoid that. So, last few cars crossing the line. We know that Janos was one of the two involved in that. And the other one that's not come through, or has come through late, is Marcus Pommer's dropped to the back of the field. Let's just have a look on the grid sheet. It was sort of 2/3 of the way down the grid where that incident happened. Janos was 21st on the grid. Pommer was 15th on the grid, on the same side as the grid of him, just a couple of rows ahead. So it could well have been Pommer that was involved in that. The German driver is still going though. He's at the back of the field, 32nd place. We've lost one other though, haven't we? So it should be 34 cars to come through. We know about the stricken number 15 Euro International car. Boccolacci gaining a few places as a result of all that from the back of the field. He's got himself up to 23rd position. A replay. Oof, completely unsighted there. And did that car get going again? Off the line? I don't think it did it? Another look at the replay. It was on the right-hand side of the grid, and it sort of pulled off the line initially, got a few metres, and then stopped completely. And Artur Janos there with absolutely nowhere to go in the race. But the incident has been cleared up pretty quickly, and it could be, yes, the safety car will come in this lap. That's just been confirmed on the screen. So the safety car is coming in. There it is, Marcus Pommer out of the car. The race will get back up to speed very shortly, and there's the damage to the car. So Pommer out. It was, as I thought, Marcus Pommer that dropped out. Alex Albon has not started the race. It's the other one that's disappeared because they weren't able to get that car started. So Pommer, the car that stalled on the line, then got hit. Disappointing after such a good performance in free practice. And the car that hit him, the number 15 Euro International car, Artur Janos, out of the race with damage to the big damage to the front suspension, and with some unknown problem, Alex Albon, who should have been third on the grid, never making the start. He was in the pit lane last we saw him, and he hasn't got going at all yet. There's his teammate Dorian Boccolacci, who's gained quite a few places already. but has still got work to do from 23rd on the grid, as has Alessio Lorandi, another driver fresh from karting, just 16 years of age, and one of the rivals to Max Verstappen in international karting, picked up by Fritz van Amersfoort and the Dutch team, now in their 40th season of competition, and looking pretty impressive actually at the street circuit at Po. This is a very different challenge though. High-speed corners, lots to get used to with the aero and the downforce. Look how small the rear wings are as Felix Rosenqvist gets them bunched up and then floors it coming out through the parabolica, ready to restart the race. And it looks like a very experienced, very solid restart that from the Swedish driver. Green flags wave, no overtaking till they cross the line, but in all truth they look to be fairly well spread out. A decent restart as well from Santino Ferrucci. Third and fourth close together though. Lance Stroll is not that far ahead of Mikkel Jensen. Jensen pulls to the outside, a massive lock-up there for Ferrucci in second place. It's wheel-to-wheel for third and fourth positions, but Lance Stroll just about hanging on to it, and now he's all over the tail of Ferrucci. So he's in a sandwich of orange Muka Motorsport cars here. Lance Stroll, the Canadian, in third place still, trying to attack and defend at the same time. And it looks like there's been a move as well for Jake Dennis, who's gained a place on this restart. So Jake Dennis from 7th on the grid, working his way through. He'd already got up to 6th before they bunched up together. Another attack here from Lance Stroll, who is one who likes to have a go, who's very entertaining in the races at Po. Not many were overtaking around the street circuit. He was one of them, and he's having a go here. We've got another one running off the circuit there. It's another of the Muka Motorsport cars. I think it might have been Ryan Tveter, the American, who had a trip over the curbs and got the chicane all wrong there. And yes, indeed, Jake Dennis flashes through shot. He's in front of Ral Hyman now, so he did get up to 5th place on the restart. So Jake Dennis, the luminous yellow helmet, the red and white and blue colours there of Racing Steps Foundations, in 5th place. It's wheel to wheel for 3rd place now, so Lance Stroll is not attacking anymore. He's trying to defend his position from Mikkel Jensen, but Mikkel Jensen, although he draws alongside, isn't able to quite squeeze through there at the Variante Ascari, the Ascari chicane. In the middle of the field, they're all bunched up, squeezed together. Number 23, Sergio Sette Câmara, the Brazilian driver there, in a real fight. Just outside the top 10. He's 11th, looking for his first points of the season. Came close to getting points in the last round at Po, finished in 11th place there. There's Callum Ilott in the Red Bull livery there, trying to work his way through, but running very, very wide. Now, lots of runoff here at this part of the course. There never used to be. Used to be a lot of gravel there, but they're run really wide now on the exit to Parabolica, which is taken in either 4th or 5th gear, depending on your preference and the setup of your car. So Rosenqvist leading the way. Jake Dennis, look, he's hunting them down in the number 2 car here. He said to me this morning he's kept his best set of tyres for the race this afternoon and the race tomorrow. There's a limit to the number of tyres you can use, 3 new sets in a weekend for qualifying and the races. So given that they had the worst grid for this race, he's opted to use his slightly older tyres here. That was that move from Callum Ilott there, squeezing past Sergio Sette Câmara, but then running wide and losing his exit speed. And then Dorian Bacalacci and Sam McLeod going off together into the gravel trap there. So McLeod, one of the motor park drivers there, in strife, and there's more drama, and this time it's Sette Câmara. It's in that same sort of region, just on the tail end of the top 10, and he's another one with a front wheel missing there, or hanging loose at least. So Sette Câmara making contact there with another, or somebody making contact with him, and the Brazilian, the latest one to drop out of the race. So he'll be stranded. They might get away with it out, bringing the safety car out, because he's just off the circuit. There might be time to recover him away here before we get back around with the race leaders. So we have got Mikkel Jensen there, number 27, looking very quick. There's Ral Hyman, who's lost a place or two. In fact, he's got George Russell behind him now in the number 10 car. George in the Carlin machine looks quicker at this stage of the race as well, looking to get onto the tail of the lighter blue Westtech car, but yellow flags are waving and he's not allowed to overtake there, so he has to back off out of it. And that's because of the incident with McLeod and Boccolacci into that part of the course at Parabolica on the previous lap. A replay then. Oof, big thud there as well for Red Sports drivers. And that was a big, big smash there, running over the back of another car for Sette Câmara. Oof, and that was pretty nasty. He almost flipped over his own debris as well then. Two of the motorsport cars just behind that, including the Italian driver Michele Beretta, just about managed to avoid it. Parting of the waves though, he sees them falling by his wayside. And while all that was going on, Mikkel Jensen has managed to get himself ahead of Lance Stroll and into the final podium position. But Lance Stroll looks quick and he's onto his tail, but they're coming up to a yellow flag zone once again. So Rosenquist leads. Ferrucci with a very mature drive here for somebody who hasn't been this high up the field, really. I mean, he was up there in the top 6 at the Norris Ring in his first season and his first visit to the street circuit. But he hasn't been as high up as second, and he looks very comfortable there. And he's had that one lock-up, but otherwise a flawless drive so far from the young American. Mikkel Jensen and Lance Stroll battling over 3rd and 4th positions. Jake Dennis in 5th place. Raoul Hyman still working wonders in 6th position, looking for his first points of the season. George Russell trying to hunt him down in 7th place. But look at the bright yellow Jagonia I Am with Carlin car, which is right behind George Russell. That is the championship leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. He is in 8th place. In 9th place, having broken his hand 2 weeks ago. Fabulous performance this by Pietro Fittipaldi. His grandfather, Emerson, who was twice a Formula 1 world champion, was here in 1971. He didn't get on the podium, finished in 8th place in that closest ever Formula 1 finish when he was driving back in the day with Lotus and BRM. There's Charles Leclerc, who's in the number 7 car, running out wide here as he tries to make his way up the order, running wheel to wheel with George Russell. Here is another replay. Oh, that was Callum Ilott just clipping the front right wheel of the Muka Motorsport car of Maximilian Gunther. I'm surprised if Gunther gets away with that. It was a fairly hefty hit. That was why Callum Ilott went off into the gravel. Did he hit the barriers? I think he just about scooped it back together before he made contact. It's breathless stuff, this, isn't it? There's stuff, everything going on at every corner almost. There's an incident or an overtake. The only one that's had a quiet race so far, and he won't mind one bit, is the leader, Felix Rosenquist. He's still, though, only 0.9 seconds clear of Santino Ferrucci. Jensen is 3rd, Stroll is 4th. Coming into another of the yellow flag zones. That's part of the problem here, going into the chicanes where you can pass somebody, slipstream them and outbrake them. There seem to be yellow flags everywhere at the moment, so you have to sit pretty and stay in line. There's the number 3 of Giovinazzi. He's got past George Russell now, so into 7th place for Giovinazzi. Russell down to 8th. Leclerc is battling, but he's only in 9th place. He's only made up 1 position. He has got ahead of Fittipaldi, who's been demoted to 10th. And onto the grass at high speed. That is going to be a properly bouncy ride there for the number 8 car of Alessio Lorandi. He recovered it beautifully, though, didn't he? A bit of a scare for Fabian Schiller, the West-Tech driver, just behind him. But that was a great control, great car control and recovery. Could have easily been in the barriers there or into another car. Alessio Lorandi, who's fighting hard, and has made his way up to 18th place before that happened with a bit of a scare with a high-speed trip down the grass. So there is our race leader, Felix Rosenquist, 3rd in the championship. What's to be harder than that? He's got to win it this season. That's the only objective for him. He's won all the big races. He's won the Masters. He's won the Pau GP. He's won Macau. He's finished 2nd in the championship. It's the only box left to tick now for the Swede is a championship win. He's got to do it this season. But every time he gains more experience, so too these young quick drivers come through. Now in the background, there is Antonio Giovinazzi trying to gain a place on Raoul Hyman. This is going to be for 6th place. He's trying to get around the outside. That won't work, so he has to back off out of it and tucks in behind. And then you've got Leclerc and Russell having a ding-dong just behind as well. So fabulous stuff. We knew it was going to be close because, as I said, the top 22 in qualifying were separated by just 0.9 of a second. Now, on the exit, it is a good run there through Curva Bagliasano for Giovinazzi, and he might just do it on the run into Seconde Varianti. No, he doesn't do it, and tucks back in behind Raoul Hyman, the South African doing well here, keeping him at bay. There is Pietro Fittipaldi in the red helmet, the white, blue and red car, just about inside the points at the moment, which would be a fine effort given his injury that he is carrying. Bit of weaving going on in the background as well as Ryan Tveta tries to fend off Brandon Mazzano, the French driver. There they are, wheel to wheel. Mazzano, he's pulling alongside now and getting his nose in front. Brandon Mazzano in the white and red Prema Power team car. But again, they're coming into a yellow flag zone, which will not help him. So probably we'll have to back off out of that one. And there is Giovinazzi. Now, he's got his main championship rival right behind him all of a sudden, Charles Leclerc. They are in 7th and 8th positions. Raoul Hyman, he's sort of corking the bottle a little bit at the moment, allowing the front runners to get clear. Jake Dennis is inching towards the top 4, but don't forget, he's saving his best tyres for the races later on. He actually said to me, 5th place I'll be happy with, and he's 5th at the moment. A nose up the inside there for the Jagonia I Am car. And now some weaving. Now Charles Leclerc is another driver that is not afraid to have a go here. Can he get the run down into Prima Variante, the chicane, on the championship leader and outscore him? And action further ahead as Jake Dennis tries to gain a place. Giovinazzi hangs on to it. Leclerc tucked in behind him. George Russell in the blue Carling car gains ground on them as a result of that. Here's a replay, which probably means an incident. Indeed so. Oh dear, it's Lorandi again with his second spin of the race. This time it's at one of the chicanes rather than down the straight, and he's trying perhaps a bit too hard to try and work his way through the order. Lorandi, no doubt about it though, has got the raw speed, and once he masters these cars, if he stays in F3 next year, I think he'll be one to watch. Now, a bit more wheel-to-wheel action here, and that is George Russell sneaking past Charles Leclerc. So Leclerc was on the attack half a lap ago. Now he loses a place. So George Russell having a good run here, looking competitive in the number 10 car, and last year's BRDC Formula 4 champion with a sneaky move there, just assessing the situation ahead of him. They drop down and then climb up, slightly uphill braking zone on the run into the fourth gear Variante Ascari. Try and stay off the curbs on some of the part of the course here. They're pretty aggressive curbs around some of the chicanes, but you can run wide on the exit to that one. All of the curbs here have adverse camber, so you can really upset the balance of the car if you ride over them. You can bottom the car out and scrub all your speed going on to the next straight into Parabolica then. And braking as they turn into that corner. As I say, fourth or fifth gear, depending on the setup of your car and your preference. And then this long run down the start-finish straight. And Leclerc is poised to have a go back at George Russell here and try and get his place back. And it's squabble for 8th place. There's our race leader, Felix Rosenqvist. It's close just behind as well. Another bit of a lock-up there for Ferrucci, I think, has held on to 2nd place. He's got his teammate Jensen in the similar colour scheme with him. But they were wheel to wheel. Leclerc has fended off. Leclerc has got back ahead of Russell, so he did get through. And that was all began down at the Parabolica. He got the better run out of that corner and made the move stick into the first chicane. So it is Jensen. I thought he might have snuck through. He has. So Jensen has got through ahead of Ferrucci and is the first of the 2 Muka cars. And that is a tidy move from Jake Dennis. He squeezes past Lance Stroll. So Lance down to 5th. Jake Dennis up to 4th place now. And he really has got the bit between his teeth. Can now call himself a bona fide race winner in this category. He's used to winning races in British Championship karting, in European Championship karting, where he was a champion. Intersteps champion in the first season of car racing. Went well in the Formula Renault Euro Cup as well. 4th place before he came into Formula 3. So, although it's taken until a couple of weeks ago to win at Formula 3 level, he's certainly a driver who knows how to be up there at the top end of the field. The full BRDC Autosport Award winner, 2 of which we have in the field, George Russell being another of them there inside the top 10 and in the points once again. So Rosenqvist has pulled just about 1 second clear now, but Mikkel Jensen, what can he do now? He's got ahead of his teammate. Jensen looking for his best result of the season so far. He's 2nd, Ferrucci 3rd, but still on for his first ever podium. But he's got Jake Dennis maybe now starting to hunt him down in the number 2 Prema Power Team car. Lance Stroll falling away already in 5th place. Raoul Hyman still going really well in 6th position. He's got Giovinazzi not far behind him now. Giovinazzi has just done a personal best lap time, 1 minute 44.5. Giovinazzi was 6/10 quicker than Hyman. So that menacing yellow car coming after him. It's not looking, though, as if Giovinazzi is going to keep up this record of podium finishes in every race. He's not quite going to get 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10 is pretty good, though. He will get the points by the looks of things, the way the race is going, but it's hard to see him getting up to those 2 Muka cars, getting past everybody else and getting himself another podium finish here. Leclerc is also going to end his run of podiums because he's had 8 on the bounce. Felix Rosenqvist going through at the head of the field. This is really going to close the championship right up again, with Felix picking up the 25 points. He'll still be 3rd in the championship, but he'll be much closer to Leclerc and to the points leader, Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi will effectively extend his advantage by a few points because he is a couple of places clear of Leclerc. Into Ascari then, named after the first ever double Formula 1 world champion. Italian Alberto Ascari, one of only 2 Italian F1 champions. Giuseppe Farina, Dino Farina being the first in the first season of F1 in 1950. Waited a long time since then to have another Italian Formula 1 champion. We have some very quick Italians coming through in this championship, with Raffaele Marciello winning the title a couple of years ago, of course, as well. And what about Antonio Giovinazzi? He looks a good prospect for the future. There's Arjun Maini, number 29, the Indian driver. is where he started in 13th place. Had some good performances last time out at Pau to get himself in the points for the first time this season. A 4th and a 5th in the 2 races there, which was very impressive indeed, and it was a good all-round weekend for Van Amersfoort. His teammate Lorandi also picking up his first points of the season. But not quite there at the moment. They've got one of their 3 drivers in points. That is Charles Leclerc in car number 8. Mikkel Jensen is 1.1 seconds behind the race leader, Felix Rosenqvist. A bit further down the order, that's Brandon Mazzano, who's in that unfortunate 11th place. Only the top 10 score points. And he's got quite a gap to try and bridge now. There is Mazzano. He's trying to catch Fittipaldi, but he's a couple of seconds behind him. And that's a nice move from Arjun Maini there. The number 29 car locks up a bit on the way into the corner, gets a bit of understeer out of the corner, fights against it, but he's made that move stick. That was to pass Ryan Tveter in the yellow Chigonia IAM car. The American losing out to the Indian, a change for 12th place. As you can see, they have got 4 or 5 seconds if they're to get themselves up into the points, those two. But good move nonetheless for Arjun Maini. The car 8 has got a warning flag. That's Alessio Lorandi, who's had these 2 spins in the race. And as a result of that, has plummeted back down to 24th place now after all of the hard work. From the back of the field, all the two making a little bit of progress. Bill Jeffrey didn't qualify too well, but he's risen up to 17th now. Described it as the worst qualifying day ever. He's had all sorts of technical problems with the car, which hindered his progress in qualifying 1. He's made a bit of progress in this race. The Malaysian driver. There's Raoul Hyman, number 38. There is the championship leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. 11 of the 19 laps have been completed. The top 4 look like they're beginning to bunch up. The gap from first to second has crept down from 1.1 to 0.8 seconds. So 1 minute 45 for the leader, Rosenqvist, 1:44.7 for Jensen chasing him. Here's a replay, and there's some contact, and that was Fabian Schiller, number 11, trying to overtake. I was talking about Nabil Jeffrey there. He is in the number 22 car. He was the one that got clipped as Schiller, the German driver, tried to come past. So that is the teammate to Raoul Hyman, Westtech, who got a tremendous record of championships and race wins in the Euro F3 Open Championship, as it was. Now these days racing in F3, the British team. And with Raoul Hyman having a very strong drive here, looking more and more comfortable and more settled there in 6th place and fending off the top 2 in the championship, let's not forget. There's George Russell, just dropping a wheel over the curb, and I'm afraid Nabil Jeffrey has come in, probably damage to the back of the car after he got clipped in that incident we just saw. So another retiree. With quite a few incidents here. They've got another race this afternoon, so there are going to be some very busy mechanics trying to get these cars sorted. They are miracle workers at times, and you'd be amazed what they can repair and how quickly they can put the cars back together. So they'll be on it as soon as they can. Only a few hours to get the cars turned around. Now, weaving around trying to find track position there is Jake Dennis, trying to get himself up onto a podium playing position. He's got more experience than the driver ahead, Santino Ferrucci, but he can't find a way past just yet. Here is another replay. It's down at the chicane, and it's Ryan Tveter getting the place back. So the American repays the compliment to Arjun Maini in a battle for 12th place. Charles Leclerc, he's drawing alongside the championship leader, so they're wheel to wheel, and just ahead Jake Dennis, he's drawing alongside, and he's got through. Another lock up there in the front right for Santino Ferrucci, and he makes contact with the back of Jake Dennis, and he goes off, and he's got damage to the front right suspension. The wheel is adrift, and that is a real sad way to end what was otherwise a very impressive race for Santino Ferrucci. So the American out, having been up there in the top 3 for most of the race. He's not going to get any points, I'm afraid. So Jake Dennis up into 3rd place from 7th on the grid, and look how close Mikkel Jensen now is to the tail of Felix Rosenqvist. And Mikkel Jensen, one of the newcomers to the championship this year, he's been regularly scoring points, but his best result has been a 4th place finish. That came at Hockenheim. He has not yet been on the podium. Best result at Pau 2 weeks ago was a 7th. Here's a replay of that incident then. A lock-up. Jake Dennis had got clear. A mistake from Ferrucci, just locked up and couldn't avoid going into the back of Dennis. The fear for Jake Dennis is that some damage may have been done to the back of his car, but relatively low speed on that. He scrubbed most of the speed off before he clipped the back of Jake Dennis's car. We will keep an eye on Jake's lap times, though. He's had that one devastating retirement a couple of weeks ago, of course, when he was leading the Pau GP with 5 minutes to go and looking for his hat-trick of wins. But 3rd place, if he can stay there, he'll be well pleased with that. Mikkel Jensen putting the pressure on Felix Rosenqvist, though. Jensen looking for his first race win in Formula 3. It's being supported by Mercedes. It's in the Mercedes-powered Muka Motorsport car. Relative latecomer to racing. He didn't start karting until he was 15 years old. Most of these young guns started karting when they were 8, 9, 10 years of age. Now, Raoul Hyman is going on the attack here, and he's going to try and get himself 4th place as he pulls out of the slipstream, but he has to back off because there are double-waved yellows. He was going to have a go at Lance Stroll there, but he can't pass under yellows. It's not allowed, and so he had to back off out of the move. It shows that he's got real good pace here. He's in 5th position. All of them promoted up, everybody that was behind Ferrucci. So Rosenqvist leads. Jensen is right on his tail in 2nd place. Dennis 3rd, Stroll 4th, Hyman is 5th, Leclerc is 6th, Giovinazzi 7th. In 8th place, George Russell. Pietro Fittipaldi 9th. Brandon Mazzano is up into the top 10 now. So Mazzano up to 10th place. Another Prema driver going well. So they're just slipping wide there, running over the curbs, trying to manage the tyres in this race. It's a bigger window than you get at some circuits with real high-speed corners like Silverstone, where you can only really get 2 or 3 good laps out of the tyres in terms of qualifying pace here. Free practice, they were saying they're able to get most of the session, the times were staying good, but not necessarily the case once the temperatures went up for qualifying. So there still might be some tyre wear on these Hankook tyres at the end of the race. Not too many high-speed corners, hard on the brakes of course as well, all these chicanes. This is the moment where Jensen got alongside Rosenqvist, almost alongside him, and you see a bit of bodywork flying off, so there was a tiny bit of contact there, I would say. Onto the back of Rosenqvist's car. Yeah, there was a little nudge. Didn't spot that first time around. It was very slight. It was enough to be a concern, though. It's a carbon fibre bodywork on a tyre can mean punctures, so you won't want that to be happening too often. A bit of air off the car of Rosenqvist. Now is Raoul Hyman. Yellow flag free this time. He's going to have a go at Lance Stroll for this 4th place run down into the first chicane. And he should do it. He's got the inside line. Lance Stroll won't be easy to pass, though, and he's very late on the brakes. And actually, yeah, the yellows are still out, so he can't get through anyway. So much frustration here for him. That backs him off into Charles Leclerc in the number 7 car. The driver 2nd in the championship. He's up to 6th place now. Giovinazzi 7th. So it's not been their best race so far. In fact, it's going to be his worst result so far this season, Giovinazzi. 2nd worst result for Leclerc if they stay where they are. But if you finish in 7th place and it's your worst result of the season after 10 races, you're not having such a bad time, are you? So Giovinazzi knows that he's got better grids for the 2nd and 3rd races. So does Charles Leclerc. So damage limitation here. Pick up what you can, look after the car, and then try and pick up some real points in the race this afternoon. Rosenqvist controlling things at the head of the pack. He's just had the advantage in qualifying, but they're all on his pace now, that's for sure. There is number 24, Brandon Mazzano, the French driver who's made his way up into the points. Currently 13th in the standings. Has had some points. He had a pretty good weekend at Silverstone, actually, in the top 5 in one of the races there. Points in the other 2 encounters. And good to see him coming back to form. Great shot of the cars, whipping through shot there. You can see them running out of the Ascari chicane, and this very long straight. Took me about 10-15 minutes to walk the length of that down to Parabolica yesterday. And then they dip the cars into this very quick right-hander. They're flat out still as they turn in and then brake in 4th or 5th gear. And more contact a bit further down the order. Doesn't look as bad as some that we've seen. Evasive action being taken down the escape road. You can see that we've got the top 10 or 11 cars here, all in a long, long line. All of them itching to get past the other. We've had 15 of the 19 laps now completing the race. 5.5 minutes still left on the clock, so I think it's going to go to time, and it will quite squeeze the 19 laps in due to the safety car intervention that we had very early on in the race. So it might just be a timed race, this. It might be a lap or 2 short of the full distance of 19, 35 minutes being the maximum time. Mikkel Jensen still pushing hard. Can he get through? No, not yet. Also pushing hard is Raoul Hyman to try and get this 4th place finish. Mikkel Jensen, last year's German ADAC Formel Masters champion. He had a super year last year, 9 wins and 14 podiums. And the final champion in Masters, because the Formula 4 championship is now taken over in Germany. Stepping up to Formula 3. I asked him what the main difference was between driving the Masters car and this one, and he said it's really more aero, and it's getting used to how you can get out of the corners, as contact there between Ranganathan and Ilott. And in the number 33 car, Javier Ranganathan ends up in the barriers. I think he'll be okay, but he'll be out of the race. Looked like he was trying to go around the outside of Callum Ilott there and made contact with the British driver, who did well not to get into a spin and into the gravel trap himself. And he was overtaken then by Alessio Lorandi, who's had one or two moments in this race. So demoted then to 20th place. Not a good weekend so far for Callum Ilott. Now look at the black car there, Charles Leclerc, as we go into the final 4 minutes of the race. 1 minute 45 a lap, so we should have time for 3 more laps, I reckon. And he's going to try and get a move, so he forces Raoul Hyman to go on the attack. Have the yellow flags been removed, or are they still there? I think they've been removed, so they're free to go for it now. Leclerc does. Hyman goes for it as well. They both get past Lance Stroll, who drops 2 places. So Leclerc gains a position on Stroll, but then he runs a bit too deep into the chicane, losing time. Javier Ranganathan out of the car and okay, but disappointed at the way the race ended for him after that contact with the back of Callum Ilott's car. So there are our top 3. Jake Dennis just feigning a move down the inside, but not really close enough to attack. Mikkel Jensen there for 2nd place. George Russell still fighting away and still doing a good job here to hang on to the championship leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. They run 7th and 8th. Pietro Fittipaldi with a hugely impressive drive here, given the circumstances, in 9th place. Just dropping a couple of wheels over the curb there was the championship leader. He's about a length or 2 clear now, George Russell, as they head towards the Ascari chicane. And he should be safe because he's late enough on the brakes. And I don't think Russell is quite close enough to slipstream him. Going back to Mikkel Jensen in 2nd place, yeah, he was saying the main difference is a lot more aero on these cars. And because of the more power and the different types of tyre that you have to make sure you've got the car out of the corner before you go on the throttle with the Formula 3 car. Otherwise, the back end slips away from you. In the Formula Masters car, you could just floor it out of the corners. But when you press the throttle, you press it fully. A bit more progressive on the throttle and the brakes with the Formula Masters car. With these, you get it out of the corner, you get it pointed in a straight line, and then you floor it. So different driving style. He's got used to it very quickly indeed. And Charles Leclerc, who's been very quick coming out of the Parabolica on almost every lap, he's now trying to get a move. And Jake Dennis is getting close to the tail of Mikkel Jensen, who's no longer defending. He's no longer attacking. He's defending his position rather. Raoul Hyman also having to defend from Charles Leclerc, but in the end, nobody gained any positions. Just under 2 minutes left on the clock, so it should be 2 laps to go. So we're just about going to get to the full distance. It'll be tight. But we've got Rosenqvist, who's got it all going on behind him, and nobody's really got that close to him, apart from Mikkel Jensen on the one occasion. Mikkel now absolutely having to defend here from Jake Dennis, who's kept life in those tyres. And Raoul Hyman slipping and sliding around a little bit. Charles Leclerc gets the better exit from the chicane here. And he, though, has got to keep an eye on the mirrors because he's got Lance Stroll right behind him. And then Giovinazzi, what's happened to George Russell? He's had a bad run somewhere and he slipped back. So George Russell's had a problem and slipped back to 9th position. And not only has he fallen away from Giovinazzi, he's also dropped behind Fittipaldi, who is up to 8th place now. An even better run for him. Number 1, Felix Rosenqvist, looking for his 3rd campaign win here. He's the most winning driver on the grid. He's had 17 race wins in Formula 3 over the years, Felix Rosenqvist. Not too many others out there have won. Jake Dennis, 2 wins. Antonio Giovinazzi, 4. Charles Leclerc, 2 wins. George Russell, 1 win. So, win number 18 on the cards, it seems, for Rosenqvist. Jensen 2nd, Dennis 3rd. Raoul Hyman there in 4th place, still fending off Charles Leclerc in 5th. Lance Stroll, who briefly looked like he might get onto the podium for the 2nd time this season, early on in the race, has now dropped to 6th position. Giovinazzi 7th, Fittipaldi, Russell and Mazzano rounding out the top 10. Arjun Mine is just outside the top 10. He's come up to 11th place now. A real tight shot there of that battle with Giovinazzi, and Stroll weaving this way then that is Jake Dennis. He's got a bit of freedom now because there's nobody right behind him. There's contact, Giovinazzi there, and that's Lance Stroll. That has gone off as we go into the final lap of the race. Stroll out of 6th place into a spin. There was contact between them. We might get a replay to get a closer inspection of that and work out exactly what happened. But the end result, I'm afraid, for Lance Stroll is that Canadian, within a lap of finishing in the top 6, is out now. So final lap of the race, Jake Dennis, he's swarming all over the tail of Jensen. Leclerc locks up because he overtakes Raoul Hyman, but he runs too deep into the corner. Hyman gets him back on the exit. Giovinazzi, the championship leader, is going to get past him as well. So a brave attempt there from Leclerc. He almost got into 4th place. He's going to probably end up 6th. Yes, he is. Giovinazzi's dropped behind him. He's also having to defend here from Fittipaldi, who squeezes onto the tail of him. George Russell trying to get back at them as well in 9th place. Mazzano still in 10th position, a long way clear of Miney in 11th. So that should be the points finishers. As it stands. Well, of course, they're all going to move up, aren't they? Miney will move into the top 10 because Stroll is out of the race, of course. So Giovinazzi, this is better than hoped. He's gained a couple of places on this final lap. One past Stroll and one past Leclerc now. And onto the tail of Raoul Hyman, 5th place. Not too bad from where he started, 8th on the grid. We've got just a few corners to go now. In fact, 2 corners to go now as Felix Rosenqvist goes into the Parabolica for the final time. Jensen is going to hang on to that 2nd place. Dennis pushed really hard for the last couple of laps, but he'll be really pleased, I think, with 3rd position. The checkered flag comes out. It's the 3rd win of the season. He's 18th of his Formula 3 career for Felix Rosenqvist. 2nd place to Mikkel Jensen with his best run so far in the championship. Jake Dennis from 7th to 3rd will be pleased on older tyres. And crossing the line then in 4th place was Giovinazzi. So he did get past. Leclerc got ahead of Hyman as well. And Hyman was demoted to 6th place right at the end of the race there while we were looking at the leader come across the finish line. So poor old Raoul Hyman looked like he got 4th place sorted then, and they managed to squeeze past him somehow right at the end of the race. Still a good effort though, still his first points of the season. And this is what happened. And this is the earlier replay with Lance Stroll and Giovinazzi at the start of the final lap of the race going into the first chicane. Giovinazzi was going for the inside line. Stroll was on the outside. Contact was made. This was when Leclerc had a go at Hyman halfway around the last lap. It failed. Giovinazzi was able to get past him. And that was the last we saw of Raoul Hyman in 4th place. They both got past him at the end of the race, the very end of the race. So down to 6th position it was for Raoul Hyman. Pietro Fittipaldi in 7th place, his best finish of the season. Didn't think he'd even be here after the broken hand 2 weeks ago. There he is, 7th place. Great drive. 8th position for George Russell. 9th place for Brandon Mazzano. And Arjun Maini, for the 3rd race running, gets himself up into the points with a 10th place finish, with 1 or 2 dropping out ahead of him, but still with a good performance that. So Felix Rosenqvist wins the 10th round of the championship by 1.1 seconds. Mikkel Jensen got close on one occasion, but in honesty, although he was never far clear, Rosenqvist controlled that one from start to finish. Jake Dennis with a good drive through to 3rd. So Prema, Muka Motorsport and Prema, the 3 teams with drivers on the podium. Jagonia I am with Carlin. Driver Antonio Giovinazzi is 4th. The championship leader will extend his points advantage over Charles Leclerc, but they're both caught by Felix Rosenqvist, 3rd in the championship. And there you can see the rest of the top 10. More points again for George Russell in the Carlin car in 8th position. He did drop back a little bit with a couple of laps to go, but still be relatively satisfied with that performance, I think. So a very action-packed race here at Monza. There is Charles Leclerc just giving a little acknowledgement to Mikkel Jensen. And there is your race winner, Felix Rosenqvist, who will now move on to 135 points in the championship, following his 2 wins his wins earlier in the season. He had the win, of course, right at the start of the season from pole position at Silverstone, and a win in one of the races at Hockenheim. Not such a good weekend at Po, but his 3rd win of the season coming here at Monza. And he's going to be on pole this afternoon, and he's going to be on pole for the 3rd race of the weekend tomorrow as well. Mikkel Jensen with a very good drive. Not only is he 2nd in the race, he's the top rookie, of course, as well. Charles Leclerc in 5th place, the 2nd best rookie. And Raoul Hyman will see on the rookie podium as well in 6th place as the 3rd best rookie. Rosenqvist really happy with that. Certainly pole position here at Monza is no guarantee of a race win, and he had to work hard all the way through that one. But Felix Rosenqvist, who's built this good rapport up with the Prema Power team, as has his teammate Jake Dennis, although he hasn't yet learnt much Italian. Communication can be a bit of an issue. Not all of them speak English. His engineer does. Jake Dennis asked him if he's learnt any Italian yet, and he said grazie, and that was about it. Incident under investigation after the race, an incident between car 3, Antonio Giovinazzi, and guess who? Car 25, Lance Stroll. So that incident is going to be investigated. So there might be a postscript to this race. On the final lap of the race, Giovinazzi, the championship leader, getting past Lance Stroll, but the move wasn't without contact. Each driver will argue their case, but it will be up to the stewards as to exactly what happens with that one and if any penalties are applied. Won't do Lance Stroll any favours. He's not going to finish the race anyway. But we'll see what happens with that one and bring you up to speed when we come back with the second race later on today. Some replays, slow-mo replays of some of the front runners there. Dennis in third. Jensen coming home in second place. 9th in the championship before this weekend. Several points finishes, but his first podium in Formula 3. And with the 18th career victory in Formula 3, Felix Rosenqvist just did enough to keep them all behind him throughout the entire duration. Few laps from the end, he was being tight, but otherwise he controlled that one nicely. So great start to the weekend for Felix Rosenqvist. We'll see him up on the podium very shortly. We've got 2 more races to come here from Monza, rounds 11 and 12 of what's been a fascinating championship so far. Felix Rosenqvist now becomes the most winning driver with 3 race wins this season, and still we have 5 different winners. Some highlights then of the race. And great start by Felix Rosenqvist, which was all important, but the drama was further back. Marcus Pommer's car struggling off the line and then getting hit there by, and sighted by, the number 15 Arti Janos Euro International car. So that brought out the early safety car. That was quickly dealt with. We got back underway. We were missing Alex Albon as well. He could have been third in the grid, but had a technical problem with the car and wasn't able to start. And then it all broke loose. Lots and lots of overtaking, lots and lots of incidents and contact and spins, as you can see here. There are a few damaged Formula 3 cars to be repaired between now and race 2 later on this afternoon. That was the damage wheel to number 23, Sergio Seti Camara. That was the first of 2 spins for Alessio Lorandi, although he didn't actually have any real damage to the car. Jake Dennis getting past Lance Stroll to get up into third. That was the number 11 Fabian Schiller car running into the back of Nabil Jeffrey, both of them retiring as a result of that incident. And that was Santino Ferrucci being passed by Jake Dennis, then looking up, running into the back of Jake, coming right. That was the Indian driver, number 33, Mahavir Raghunathan, after contact with the back of Callum Ilot's car. He broke his wheel and went off into the barrier, and there were incidents aplenty, but avoiding all the drama was Felix Rosenqvist to take a well-deserved victory and back on form after a really disappointing weekend at Pope, although he did pick up some points and he did get a couple of top 6 finishes, which was a decent result after a difficult qualifying performance around the street circuit. So Rosenqvist back where he wants to be now, controlling the race. So we're almost there at the end of our transmission for this first race of the weekend here at Monza. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage, and I hope we'll see you and you'll be able to watch more great action with us later on today and with the third race of the weekend. Big grid, big action here at Monza. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Chris Hartley from me and the rest of the team. We'll see you again here at Monza a little bit later in the weekend. Bye for now.